लॉ ऑफ सिंपल पेंडुलम। तो फर्स्ट लॉ है हमारे पास लॉ ऑफ लेंथ। लॉ ऑफ लेंथ क्या है? इट स्टेट्स दैट एट अ गिवन प्लेस द पीरियड ऑफ अ सिंपल पेंडुलम इज डायरेक्टली प्रोपोर्शनल टू द स्क्वायर रूट ऑफ इट्स लेंथ। इट स्टेट्स दैट at a given place the period of a simple pendulum is directly proportional to the square root of its length। ठीक है। लॉ ऑफ लेंथ क्या होता है? इट स्टेट्स दैट एट अ गिवन प्लेस द पीरियड ऑफ अ सिंपल पेंडुलम is directly proportional to the square root of its length. That means that is said the period of simple pendulum. Period of simple pendulum t for simple pendulum is directly proportional to the square root of its length. Is directly proportional to square root. Proportional to square root of its length. First law. Second law है law of acceleration. Law of acceleration. It states that for a given length of a simple pendulum is inversely proportional to the square root of acceleration due to gravity at that place. It states that for a given length of a simple pendulum is inversely proportional to the square root of the acceleration due to gravity at that place. In this law of length, it is root L, and in this law of acceleration, it is t is directly proportional to 1 upon root g because of gravity at that place. Law of length. Third, law of mass. It states that the period of a simple pendulum is independent of the mass of the bob. This law of mass states that the period of simple pendulum is independent of mass of the bob. And the last law is law of isochronous. It states that the period of simple pendulum The period of simple pendulum is independent of the amplitude provided that is small. First law states that at a given place, the period of simple pendulum is directly proportional to the square root of its length. Period of a simple pendulum is directly proportional to the square root of its length. This t is proportional to root L in first law. In second law, it states that for a given length of a simple pendulum, the period of a simple pendulum is inversely proportional to the square root of the acceleration due to gravity at place. Acceleration in this law, given length of a simple pendulum the period of simple pendulum is inversely proportional to square root of acceleration. That is, period is inversely proportional to root g, gravity. Law of mass. The period of simple pendulum is independent of the mass. It is independent of the mass bob. In law of isochronous, it states that the law of simple pendulum is independent of the amplitude provided it is small. It states that the period of simple pendulum is independent of the amplitude provided it is small. So these are the laws of simple pendulum that you have to learn.